Hello and welcome. This video is an update on the current state of Scholar. Turns out this class now is a total unit in lower tier Nodewars and should be considered at all levels. It has nothing to do with any speed buff or damage buff. So let's find out why. Hi, I'm Rocket and welcome to my channel. If you could leave a like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. First off, I want to apologize for taking so long to come out with this video. February was kind of crazy for me and I had to step away from BDO. But I've been back about 2 weeks now and I had some time to try out the class after the buffs, and I gotta say, it's refreshing. Class seems to be working better. Still, there are some glitches I would have hoped that would have been gone by now, but the update on February 7th was a game changer for her. Let's dive in a little more. A lot of people have asked me about the speed buffs and is it making a difference? And after actually comparing the speed changes, I gotta say it wasn't much of a change at all. If anything, I feel like PA just reverted the speed nerf upon release and gave us the regular speed from Global Labs. So what I did is I took a combo and ran it several tests on Labs and live before patch. All of my add-ons were removed, all of the crystals were removed, and it was apples to apples as I could get it. I ended up saving around average 1 second on the whole combo. The combo went from 10 seconds and 8 frames to about 9 seconds and 3 frames on average. And it was fairly consistent, only varying about 3 to 5 frames from one test to another. So about a 10% speed buff over all the skills. So you should expect slightly more loot, but not by much. The side iframe chain is minuscule. If you look closely, they made the class move a tiny bit sooner to help with desync when casting the skill in an unprotected state. I love the new trajectory of Giant Leap. It feels a lot better to aim. No longer does it have that weird super high arc where it almost felt like a V in the sky. Now it feels more like a cannonball or a natural leap forward. However, the big change that has changed the class for me in large scale situations has been the simple addition to sustain on HammerSPIN. I felt like this HammerSPIN change needed its own section because it was a complete game changer for me. As soon as I switched over to HammerSPIN for sustain, I saw immediate improvements in her Nodewar capabilities. A 70 HP tick per hit has been huge. The skill naturally has 15 hits, so the class is recovering 1050 HP, not including recovery elixirs or the extra 350 if you use the BSR. On top of that, the skill is full SA and allows me to get the re-CC by running its core, and it's one of her harder hitting skills. Scholar is basically running with a caster heal she can cast every 10 seconds now that's also a CC. Now you can get in, get a CC, get the re-CC, and then possibly 1 or 2 skills afterwards before having to relocate because of sustain problems. Even on higher tiers, when I switched to HammerSPIN for the sustain, I saw immediate improvements. Before, the issue was that if you dove in and you tried to get a CC, even if you follow up to get a re-CC, now your HP is too low to stay in the fight. You can't kill the target. You have to cast Hammerfall or Golden Wave. Both are not SA, so it would lead to you being back attacked and getting CC'd, and you would still either die or have to V out. Scholar is a must-have in lower tier Nodewars. Even at higher tiers, I'm starting to see why the class has not been buffed in the way that most of the community thinks the class should be buffed. I'll say it right now. If you are in a T1 or T2 scenario and you're not running Scholars, you're fighting an uphill battle. Let me break it down. From my recent experience, the class has a top frag potential while also being one hell of a support class for your ball. Until recently, I didn't quite really understand anti-gravity. Defense nullifying damage, 20 plus on critical hits. I thought the skill was nullifying or tanking 20 damage per one of your critical hits. I was wrong. The skill is actually granting 20 flat damage per critical hit for all your crits. Cool, extra Scholar DPS. But there's more. The skill is also granting 3 flat damage for all your critical hits for all of your allies. So, let's say your ally does a few skills and lands a measly 30 critical hits in those 10 seconds. That's 90 free damage. That's basically nothing. But now we have to multiply that by a ball of 20. That's 1800 free damage. That's almost half of the player's HP in a T1 scenario for free. However, it doesn't stop there. That would be it if you were hitting just one target. But that's not the case. That's 90 free damage by 20 people on 20 people. You have to take that 1800 and multiply it by 20 again. There's 36,000 free damage your ball is now doing to the enemy ball, assuming allies never get buffed again. Well, okay, maybe there's something there, right? But no, there's more. On top of that 3600 free damage, now the enemy ball has a healing debuff of 20%. So let's do some quick math on Caster Lighthouse. That's 1500 HP times 20% healing reduction, which is 300 HP you're losing out on. So let's say your ball of 20 has 2 casters. That's 600 HP that you're missing out on. And let's multiply that by 20 now. That's another 12,000 HP that you're fighting against the enemy ball. That's nearly 50,000 damage every 10 seconds on a failed engagement of 30 hits for your entire ball of 20 people. Now I know it's a hypothetical scenario where your whole ball will need to receive the buff and the whole enemy ball will need to be hit by the scholar to receive the debuff. In a real engagement, you're constantly casting skills inside of the ball, so you're rebuffing your allies, and I'm willing to bet that the truth is somewhere more along the lines of this, because the test was on a failed engagement of 30 critical hits. In a real engagement, you're lasting a lot more than 3 seconds. And now the cherry on top, she's also a top fragger in lower tier Nodewars. Her sustain allows her to stay in the fight much longer. She becomes a very oppressive force when 2 or 3 people are hitting her, and her HP, instead of going down, is staying fully top. And she keeps on dropping CCs with her slams. In higher tier Nodewar, she will struggle a little more because her sustain is not like a drag, and instead of tanking 2 or 3 people now you have to tank 5 or 6 or more people, and now she has to retreat from the engagement. The class right now in large scale, it's not in shambles anymore. She has great movement, she has frag potential, and she has a unique mechanic which in theory should be helping. She was always good at smaller scale fights like 1v1s or 3v3s, and now she's even better because of the speed buff and added sustain. In PvE, I said she was a C in early game. I changed that to a low B now, but even with the movement Rabam to cover for the Q warp glitch, I still don't recommend this class for early game grinding. Her AoEs are just not wide enough and Q is still glitched. Mid game to end game PvE, before I graded her at an A, she's still there. I know Blue graded her lower and Kandaya was about the same in endgame, but personally I'm not going to grade her on performance numbers alone, because there's more to PvE than just loot. The majority of the player base is still not hard cap. Scholar offers the majority of the community, including me, a unique balance of high accuracy and high AP passive, which can open areas for players that don't quite have the gear to access that area or meet those caps. Those key passes are a big reason why I grade Scholar more favorably. The class is not lacking in damage in endgame PvE. I was able to keep up with an awakened Musa who had similar gear to my character. I even have seen scholars who are pulling more trash than me 2 AP brackets below. Where she is lacking is in her AoE sizes. If those ever get fixed for PvE, the class has real potential to get into that above average S rank status. To be fair, right now, the class feels balanced. She's not overpowered, she's not underpowered, but she definitely needs AoE buffs. I saw the dev commentary from a few days ago. It's a little concerning for the Scholar class because they're planning to lower the number of hits for all classes to reduce strain on servers. However, Scholar has a passive which is directly linked to the number of hits. This can be an immediate nerf for the class if they don't take that into account. For a class that's already struggling to do damage, it can be very detrimental. However, if they do it properly, it can be beneficial because instead of relying on a passive for the class to deal more damage, now the class is getting a big buff in damage numbers and no longer needs the class to rely on a passive to output more damage. So it can go both ways. The class right now still has some of those glitches from launch. Q warp and the Goomba hop glitch are still in the game, and if they could fix those, that would be huge. The class is still struggling from AoE sizes being too small. Definitely down E and HammerSPIN could use about a 10 to 20% AoE buff. HammerSPIN seems to be always a step or two out of range from targets in both PvE and PvP. Also, the damage reduction numbers on this class continue to be too aggressive. She's finding success in wars now not because of her damage, but her ability to stay engaged in the fight and dwindle her targets through attrition. If you guys ever see this class get damage reduction buffs and AoE buffs, definitely give her a try. Here soon I will drop an overview guide for Scholar. If that's something you're interested in, please give a like and a sub. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Peace.